Welcome to the FIDO Member Manager. This bit is about entering the paper forms into the FIDO Member Manager. If you don't know how to find the Member Manager, it's on the web as near as your browser. See the piece on logging into the Member Manager for full details on accessing the system. Before you can do anything covered here, you need a username and a password. Get these credentials from the membership chair. At the coffee bark table, when a person first asks to join, check to see if they're not already a member. The paper form is a rather labor-intensive thing, both for the prospect and for the FIDO processor, and it is just easier all around to check if we already have the details on the member.
Old-timers remember the day when we always had people fill out forms, joining or renewal, and they would fill one out when it was not really necessary. They still fill out forms on renewal without asking, so for that reason we have to check to make sure that a person isn't already a member.
To find if we have a record, just enter a few characters in the name lookup field. Case does not matter. Usually, the first 4 or 5 letters of the last name narrows it down enough. If there are matches, name lookup places a set of buttons of likely candidates. If you're not sure, ask the prospect if any of their names are correct. Clicking on any of the buttons brings up the corresponding member record. We see here that Mr. Chamberlain has lapsed. The orange theme of the page instead of green is the heads up. We can review this entry with Mr. Chamberlain to ensure that the mailing address, email, and other details are still correct. And perhaps also to get a dues payment to reinstate the member. This is a lot quicker than processing the form, only to discover that Mr. Chamberlain is already a member. Click on the Add Payment. A form appears. Type in the renewal payment in the top field, numbers and periods only. Omit $signs. Next, make a journal entry describing the payment. It helps to give a breakdown in this journal entry if parts of the monies goes to membership, parts to calendars, or parts to donations. We'll cover this in a little bit more detail later. Cancel aborts the entry. Careful with that. Your entry is erased, and you have to start over after accidental cancellations. Update commits the record, and that's all there is to it. You've saved the member from needless form filling and us from needless form processing. But what if the name didn't show up in name lookup? Alas, we have to ask the person to fill out a membership form. This is a paper member entry form. Before the candidate leaves the table, you should check that it is complete, including how much money they have provided. At the top, there's a minimum yearly FIDO dues, currently $10. Since October 2016, dues cover just dues. Donating for other things does not also mean membership. You may have to explain that to old-timers who remember the days when dues could be a part of payments for all manner of things. Donations beyond the $10 minimum may go towards t-shirts, dog coats, calendar pictures, or whatever else is on offer, or simply counted as an additional donation. The checkboxes suggest various donation levels, but the last, other, is not a checkbox. It should not be checked, but have a dollar amount written in instead. The amount other than one of the suggested checkboxes given by the member. Check other parts of the form for blanks. Did they forget stuff, or for writing that isn't very clear? It is very important that mail and email addresses are readable. These are needed for member mailings and emailings. Ask the person to interpret before they leave if you're not sure what is on the form. Most form processing takes place in the comfort of one's home after Coffee Bark. There's usually too much going on at Coffee Barks to enter forms there as well. We're going to use a fake demo address and fake demo name to illustrate how form processing goes. Start from the Member Manager main page. Click on New Member button to bring up a new member creation wizard. Pin the wizard so that it always remains visible if your computer knows how to do that. The first part of the wizard just takes the person's name, salutation, first, middle, and last names. Finally, a suffix. The only required parts are the first and last name, and everything else can be omitted. With at least the first and last name entered, proceed to the next part of the wizard by clicking on Add. The next part of the wizard takes the member's mailing address. Entry is fairly straightforward, except for the last part, the ZIP+4 part at the very end. We'll need help from the United States Postal Service to get the ZIP+4 code extensions. ZIP+4 is required for all classes of business bulk mailing, such as the membership drive, so we really need to furnish this. Don't omit it, it will just make a lot more work later on. It helps to have preloaded the ZIP+4 page on another browser tab. Switch to that tab and cut and paste the street address and city from the form wizard and select the state. It's not necessary to provide the 5 new zip code part before pressing the Find button. Since our address is fake, it's not surprising that the ZIP+4 page complains. This illustrates that this facility is more than just a +4 zip code finder. The Postal Service actually checks if your address is on a known delivery route, and if you're warned if it is not. This has helped keep the list clean of typos or misrepresentations of handwriting. With the address complete, along with zip +4, click on the Next button to bring up the email address entry part of the wizard. If the member does not have an email address, just click on the Next button. Enter the part before the commercial @ symbol, the name field. Enter the part after the commercial @ symbol, the domain field. Click on the Next button to bring up the telephone entry part. If the member has not furnished a telephone number, then just click on the Next button. It is necessary to furnish the area code, exchange, and station number portions of the phone number. The member manager cannot accommodate European or British formats, but members from there are rare. Leave the extension blank unless it is necessary. Click on the Next button to bring up the initial dues payment. We've already seen a preview of this. There are 2 parts to this form, and both are necessary. Enter the payment in the amount field, leaving out any currency symbol. Enter details of the payment in the comment field. The member manager reports an error and ignores the Next button until a payment journal comment is made as well. Click on the Next button to bring up the pet detail part of this. The name of the pet goes in the name field, and, if possible, enter a few distinguishing characteristics of the dog in the description field. Since this may be used for FIDO Lost Dog, it is better to enter no description instead of guessing or trying to remember details you may not be sure of. For members who are purchasing calendar photographs, it can help to note where the picture is appearing in the calendar. Leave the dog tag number field blank. We no longer issue dog tags. Click on Add Another if the owner has more than one pet. That produces a second form, filled out just like the first. Click on Next to go to the Preferences check button. Here, one adds a preference to make it active and removes it to make it inactive. Counterintuitively then, add means the service is presently inactive, and remove means the service is active. Since we do not currently have a newsletter, but do send out regular broadcast emails, the default settings may be left alone. If a member requests the whole email, then click on Remove next to the Send Broadcast email, so that the email address will not be included in FIDO Lost Dog or other MailChimp broadcasts. It is a good idea to return to the main page and bring up the new record. Check the member form against the record. Any changes to the membership records are posted on the main page of the Membership Manager. Find the posting and click on the member's name to bring up that member's page. When you read the members page, compare what's entered against what's on original form. It helps to put a small check mark to indicate your progress. Work slowly and carefully. It is easy to fix mistakes now. It becomes harder to find and fix mistakes after you've moved on. Click on any of the change buttons to correct parts that are incorrect. These work similarly to their counterparts in the Add New Member wizard. When you're done, mark the member form that the data has been entered, just to be sure you won't enter the form again. And that's the gist of entering new member records into FIDO Member Manager.